even when faced with challenges that seem impossible. A very good morning to everyone. I, Gagna Punacha, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, take pleasure in welcoming you all for today's webinar. Quality Teaching to Enliven the Class by Dr. Prabhudev. Sri Sai College for Women was started in the year 1990 by Sri Y. Ramachandra, former mayor, minister, and freedom fighter. Our institution was named after the patron saint Sri Shirdi Sai Baba. Our institution was started with the main objective of promoting higher education among women and enable them to attain excellence in academic, intellectual, spiritual, moral, and cultural fields, and to equip them with necessary knowledge. The college is indeed overwhelmed by the response of the participants. Without further delay, I request Mrs. Anita, IQAC coordinator, to introduce the speaker of the webinar. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Gagana. A teacher is a compass that activates the magnets of curiosity, knowledge, and wisdom. A very good morning to everyone. I, Anita, IQAC coordinator, take pleasure to welcome the speaker for today's webinar. Dr. Prabhudev holds MCom, MBA, LLB, and PhD degrees. He has 44 years of experience in the field of education. He has been professor and head of department, Commerce and Management, Seshadripuram College, Bangalore, the academic dean, College of Business and Economics, Northeast Africa, principal and director, CMR Institute of Management Studies, Bangalore, the director of Surana College for Postgraduate Studies, Bangalore. He has also been a senior professor of finance, Institute of Management, Christ University, Bangalore, the director of Presidency College, Bangalore, and the director of MQI College of Management. Dr. Prabhudeva has published 8 books, 30 research papers, and 40 articles, and has guided 8 PhD and MPhil students. He has been the resource person in UGC-sponsored FDPs for 5 times. He has inaugurated and chaired national and international conferences. He has visited 6 universities abroad across 20 countries and has given talks in more than 200 different forums and institutions. Dr. Prabhudeva has also been a part of AIMA New Delhi and World Council for Corporate Governance, United Kingdom. To add to his credit, a book named Prabuddha, a souvenir, was brought out to commemorate the completion of his 40 years in the academic field, and many awards have been conferred on him. On behalf of the management, principal, staff of Sri Sai College for Women, I welcome you, sir, for today's webinar. We are looking forward for your enlightening talk on the topic, Quality Teaching to Enliven the Class. I would also take this opportunity to welcome the chairman of Sri Sai Group of Educational Institutions, Sri R. Ananda, the director of studies of Sri Sai Group of Educational Institutions, C.A. Sai Prasad, the principal of Sri Sai College for Women, Professor Ramanjaneyulu, my colleagues, and all the participants for today's webinar. I hope you all enjoy the learning. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, all of you. When COVID-19 has cast its dark shadow on the psyche of every one of us, it is very heartening that we are deliberating upon a very proactive, a very positive topic today. Quality teaching to enliven the class. I always like to spend time with teachers, young teachers, share my experiences with them, and try to learn from them. That is my approach. And today's topic is very, very meaningful. At the outset, I thank Mr. R. Ananda, the chairman of Sri Sai College for Women, Sri Sai Prasad, Director of Studies, Professor Ramanjaneyulu, the principal, and the young team of dedicated faculty here. We teachers will look different. We carry ourselves in a different way. And I'm sure all of you, the teachers, you have certain definite traits. The way you are looked upon in the society, the way you are looked upon in your community, in your family, extended family, is quite different. I'm sure you undergo a different feeling altogether, a feeling of a teacher. It gives you a very gratifying feeling, I'm sure, because we are all teachers. Teachers are always kept on high pedestal. And teaching profession, they say, creates all other profession. That is the importance of this teaching profession. They say to teach is to touch lives forever. The degree of impact teachers will make on student is for the entire life. So to teach is to touch lives forever. There is a saying, when I'm reading a good book, I stop for a while and think about my teacher and thank my teacher. Why? Because my teacher gave me the ability, my teacher gave me the maturity to look into the book, to absorb myself into the book. So everyone will think of his teacher when he's reading a good book, and is definitely is going to thank his teacher. Friends, today we are operating ourselves in a highly technology-driven world. Teaching is completely technology-driven. I vividly recall my initial days of teaching when I started my career in Sheshadripuram College, a well-known institution now. Those days, there was not even a computer in any college in Bangalore, perhaps any college in India, 1976. So we had to do that chalk and talk. That was the only thing. We have come a long way. The teaching technique has evolved over a period of time, and all the teachers now, they are tech savvy. They have taken technology to the class, and today also I use technology in the class to reach out to my student. And every teacher should keep few paces ahead of the students, at least few paces ahead of the students, to make the difference in the class. We always say there is a synergy between teaching and learning. We feel that, and we believe that we go to the class to teach. We go to the class to teach. But my experience is, I definitely go to the class with a lot of inputs. I go to the class to teach, but when I come back from the class, I would have definitely learned something. Therefore, I believe that teaching is learning. Teach to learn and learn to teach. What a beautiful synergy. They say teaching is learning twice. When you go to that class, when you open up discussion in the class, when you don't do only monologue, when there is a dialogue in the class, when you foster an atmosphere of learning in the class, when you foster learning excitement in the class, the learning will take to the next level. And there will be 4 C's: collaboration, communication, creativity, and critical thinking. When all these 4 elements are present in the class, what will happen? What is the outcome? The outcome is quite obvious for all of you to see. You must have experienced, I'm sure. When you open a discussion in the class, when you are inviting all the students to participate in the discussion in the class, what happens? There is a collaboration. There is a teamwork. There is some communication. And they apply their creative thinking. All this will help all of us, both the teachers and the students. When a very beautiful deliberation happens in the class, aided with all the 4 C's: communication, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, all that, what happens, the outcome is very satisfying, both for the teachers and the students. The teachers will come out of the class largely satisfied, and the students also will be equally largely satisfied. This should be the minimum outcome what we should ensure in each class. Normally, I want to ask you a question. Do we listen to students in that class? But most of us, what happens, when we go to that class, we talk. How many of us listen to our students? Not many. In case we have an open mind to listen to our students, what will happen is the learning atmosphere in the class will be very conducive, and you will be giving enough opportunity for the student to open up, to think out of the box, come out with breakthrough ideas. I have seen it myself. When I listen to students, when I foster a learning atmosphere in the class, the way they interact among themselves, the way they interact with me, they come out with very innovative ideas. And who are the beneficiaries? All of us. I believe in sharing ideas. I recall the saying of Swami Vivekananda. He says, if you have 1 rupee, you give 1 rupee, and your friend will give his 1 rupee to you. At the end, I have 1 rupee, and my friend has 1 rupee. On the contrary, if I have an idea, if my friend has an idea, a different idea, we share the idea. I give my idea to my friend, and my friend gives his idea to me. At the end, how many ideas I have? I have 2 ideas. My friend has 2 ideas. So this is the benefit of sharing of ideas. So in the class, sharing of ideas should be practiced. I have enjoyed always with this belief system, sharing of ideas. And we teachers, we should all realize that learning is continuous, learning is eternal. As I told you a little while ago, teaching is learning twice. But learning, there is no stoppage at all. Most of us, what we do, when we complete our PhD, we think we have achieved enough, but that is not the reality. When you do PhD, we come to know that we have not achieved enough. We will realize the potential, we will realize the vistas, we will realize the horizon, and we will know our limitations too. I recall Sage Bharadwaj. Sage Bharadwaj, the epitome of wisdom. He realizes that whatever the learning he did in his lifetime is not enough. So he indulges in great tapas. God appears before him and asked him, I am immensely pleased with your tapas. What do you want? Sage Bharadwaj says, Sir, give me another lifespan. Oh, another lifespan. Why? I feel that whatever I have learned so far is not enough. If you grant me another lifespan, perhaps I am going to learn more. God says, granted. I am granting you one more lifespan. So in the next life, in the next extended lifespan, Sage Bharadwaj takes up more intense learning, more intense study, but at the end, he strongly feels that he has not studied enough. When his life is almost coming to an end, he again takes up very strict tapas. And this time God appears and asks, what do you want this time? And Sage Bharadwaj says, please grant me one more lifespan. And God says, last time also you wanted one more lifespan. And this time also you want one more lifespan. And last time you gave the reason that you want to study more. Yes, yes, sir. This time also, I feel that I have to study a lot. Please grant me one more lifespan. And God says, and you'll show one mountain and tells, see, Bharadwaj, what you have studied so far is your handful. What is yet to be achieved is that mountain. This only shows that what we have learned so far with our PhDs is very small. And what we have to learn is so enormous, so huge. So all the teachers should believe that learning is eternal, there is no stoppage at all, learning is continuous. And there is a synergy between teaching and learning. Okay, now, when we go to that class, we complete that class maybe 60 minutes or 90 minutes as the case may be. We come out of that class, okay, we are taught. We are taught. Okay, have I taught actually? Have I taught actually? I have definitely taught only if it is learned by the student, because nothing is taught unless it is learned. Why I am saying this? Did I make any concerted effort to get myself connected with the students? Did I make concerted effort to ensure that there is no transmission loss in the class? Most of the time, what happens, we go to the class, we teach, definitely we teach and come back. But what is important is we need to connect with each and everyone in the class, and we need to ensure that absolutely there is no transmission loss. I recall, I read it somewhere, I recall one incident. Mahatma Gandhi visited one institution, and the head of the institution requested all his colleagues to introduce themselves to Mahatma. And the teachers, faculty said, I am so and so. I teach mathematics, I teach English, I teach history, and so on. Mahatma Gandhi asked, you say you teach mathematics, English, history. Is there anyone here who teaches the student? Oh my God, what is this? That means what Mahatma said, is there anyone who is able to reach out to student, connecting with the student? So this particular incident makes me to validate my belief system in connecting with the students to ensure that there is no transmission loss. Now, uh, I have seen some of my young friends acquiring a lot of qualifications. They're qualified, highly qualified teachers. But does it make a qualified teacher a quality teacher? What is the difference? Qualification is important, no doubt. I am not discounting the fact. Very, very important. But being a quality teacher is a different thing altogether. A quality teacher will master the craft. He will evolve over a period of time. The quality teacher evolves. Just because you acquire qualifications, you will not become quality teacher. You need to evolve. We evolve. We every single day in our career, in our profession, we, we, are, we are a better teacher. We evolve. And we become quality teachers if you are lucky enough to come under the influence of mentors, our teachers, our great teachers. At least I am lucky. I studied in the great institution, MES College, Malaysia, Bangalore. I recall the great teachers we had. I recall the mentoring what they did. I recall their compassion. I recall their affection. I recall the way they treated their students. What a relationship between the teacher and students. So we, the teachers, in the initial stage itself, if we come under the influence of great mentors in our profession, it will help us to evolve as a quality teachers. As I was telling you, creativity and imagination is very important for a teacher to become quality teacher. A teacher has to be having an open mind. He needs to have creativity. How I should make every single class of mine different. That is possible only when I organize my class, go to the class with a concerted effort to give best in the class, ably guided by my creative thinking, which I should apply in each and every class. Otherwise, it may become dull and drab. Otherwise, it may become monotonous. I need to use my imagination here. Creativity and imagination, a good blend. And a quality teacher should have an open mind, should have speed, should have imagination, as I told you, and he should have meritocracy. So all this will make him a quality teacher. There is, I have heard people saying good teachers, bad teachers. In my opinion, there is no differentiation between good and bad teachers. And there is no categorization. All teachers are basically good. But the fact remains that there are few teachers, I don't say they're bad teachers, maybe they need to evolve themselves to be widely accepted. They say, a mediocre teacher tells, a good teacher explains, a superior teacher demonstrates, and it is only a great teacher who inspires. If you're able to inspire our students, nothing like that. But to inspire our students, my God, that is a different level altogether. You are giving the curriculum inputs in the class and you're inspiring. How is that? There is not even a single dull moment in the class. You are inspiring the students. Whenever I conduct a faculty interview as the head of the institution, I invariably ask the applicant, the candidate, a question, two questions. The first question I would ask is, do you like this profession? If the answer is yes, the next question I would ask is, do you love your subject? If the answer is yes, I think the person is made for the profession, because the teacher, a good teacher, a quality teacher will definitely enter the profession by choice. He or she would have decided, I want to become a teacher. This is my profession. When you enter the profession by choice, I think you remain as a great teacher, a quality teacher. And one should enjoy the profession. Enjoying the profession, how is that? Yeah, even after taking the class, talking about a particular working day, if there is a smile on your face, that is indicative of the fact that you have enjoyed the day and you're going to enjoy every single day of your profession. I recall one incident. A few years back, I wanted to meet a doctor. I took an appointment in the evening. I went to meet him after my college hours. I met him in the evening. I introduced myself because I met him for the first time. And I found the doctor smiling, energetic. I asked him matter of factly, what is your time schedule, doctor? He said, every day I open the clinic at 9 and I will have a short lunch break. I don't go home. I will have lunch in the clinic and I will continue up to 8 o'clock. When I met him, it was 5:30 p.m. in the evening, and he was smiling. He was looking so lively. I asked him, though I met him for the first time, I took liberty and asked him, doctor, you look so lively and fresh. How is that? He said, professor, I enjoy my profession. What an answer. Applying the same thing to our profession, as long as we enjoy our profession, there is no monotony at all. There is a saying, a good teacher is one who knows how little he knows. That means we should never become complacent. Yeah, we have learnt a lot, we have prepared a lot, but that is not enough. That should be the approach. Don't become complacent ever. Try to get as much inputs as possible. So we teach from the heart, not from the book. Yeah, books are there, but when you teach from your heart, you will be making a huge difference in the class. I was using the term connecting with the learners. What do you mean by connecting with the learners? Okay, I enter the class today. I enter the class. When I enter the class, there could be 60 to 80 students, depending on the class. In post-graduation, MBA, we have, say, 60 students. 120 eyes will be looking at you. Okay, when I enter the class, what I need to do is connect with everyone. I should get a feeling that the moment I enter the class and all the students are with me, and all the students should feel that I am with each and every one of them. How does it happen? It should happen spontaneously. It should happen automatically. It should happen without me making any, effort, like your attention, please. Normally we make this, your attention, please. We try to, no, it should happen. It will happen in the very first class. In your very first interaction, the way you talk to them, the way you interact with them, the connect happens, and the natural connect will be there for all the classes. will be there with you for all the classes. In case we do not connect with the students, we are creating permanent learning disability. You go to the class, say something and come. But we are creating learning disability. Why? Because we did not connect with the students. So connecting with the student is very, very important. 60 minutes when I'm teaching in the class, each and every student should feel that I am with them. What I do, I will talk to them. I will not go for a monologue. I go for a dialogue. I talk to them. Maybe I will seek some opinion from a student. What happens, when I do that at random, every student will have a chance, will feel that he or she will have a chance being asked a question, But all of them will be eyes and ears to what I say. And that is the best way for me to get the feedback. Getting the feedback in a subtle way, whether they are with me, will help me to greatly modify my teaching techniques. Therefore, connecting with the students, um, to ensure that the class deliberation is extremely good. And we say that, how do we connect with the students? When you enter the class for the first time, discover your learners. Discovering the learner, how do you do that? As I told you, normally what we do, the very first class, we try to understand the profile of the students. We try to understand their background, their strength, their qualities, their talent. When each student knows that the teacher can address them by their name, the familiarity will help them to connect with the teacher. And that is the first thing, to, to discover the learners. But most of the time, we don't do it. For me, recently I met a student of mine whom I taught 35 years ago, approximately. For a while, I found it a little difficult to recall his name. But eventually, there was a chance that I addressed him by wrong name, but I could recall his name because 35 years is a long gap. When I recalled his name correctly, when I called him by his name, he was so excited, and I really, that excitement was so unique. That is possible because I understood him, I understood the class, I discovered the learners in my class. This is an asset to a teacher, discovering the learners in the class. The topic, today's topic, quality teacher to enliven the class. Enlivening the class is a very, very important expression. To enliven the class, what we should do, what the teacher should be doing. Every single moment in the class should be enjoyable. You may think it is too far-fetched. How to ensure every single moment in the class is extremely good, extremely enjoyable. My God, it is not easy, but it is important. When you can achieve that, it is very, very important to engage the students. And we should know as teacher, what can be taught in the class, what cannot be taught in the class. What can be explained in the class, what cannot be explained in the class. There are certain things which cannot be explained in the class, where the students have to do it themselves. They have to do it themselves. They have to learn by doing. So we just give them some kind of simulation, some kind of a casework where they put their heads together, they put their experiences together, their ideas together, the wisdom together. So learning by doing. Certain things, we should teach everything. We should give some idea, make the students to learn. That is a very, very important thing. And enlivening the class, what we do before the class, what we should be doing. There should be spontaneity. Spontaneity is very important. I have seen in my long profession, I've seen some of my colleagues, they go to the class not full of life. I'm sorry to say, on one occasion, I saw the person almost dragging himself to the class. That is very unfortunate. When you go to the class like this, with this body language, just imagine the outcome. On the contrary, when you have spontaneity, when you enter the class with the spontaneity, the outcome is quite obvious. You must be raring to go to the class. In colleges, when we do micromanagement, heads of the department, they have one headache. What is that? When somebody goes on leave, the timetable will be adjusted. And you may get a class. There is no class according to the schedule, but you may get a class that day. Or the last hour may get preponed. A good teacher is always prepared to go to the class, mentally, otherwise. So a quality teacher will be raring to go to the class. That is one good attribute. And another thing is that good preparedness. Even today, when I go to that class, I always prepare. So preparedness is very, very important. Preparedness in terms of inputs, academic inputs, and preparedness from other aspect also, in other aspects also. With the right preparedness, going to class is very important. And going to class with the right frame of mind, positive frame of mind. Possible that before you enter the class, you might had an argument with your colleague, or there could be an unpleasant situation, or maybe you had an unpleasant argument while driving to the college on the road, unpleasant argument. But when you are entering the class, don't carry all this baggage. Leave all this behind, enter the class with the right frame of mind, with the positive frame of mind, because when you enter the class, you cannot give explanation for your lack of proper mindset. No. When you enter the class, you have to teach with imagination, creativity, commitment, and that is possible only when you enter the class with the right frame of mind. And what is important is confidence level. That is very, very important. You should be very confident when you enter the class. And enter the class with a smile. I have seen some faculty, they enter the class with a frown. They think that, no, sir, you have to be strict with the students. So you should enter the class with a frown, fixed. Then it is easy to control. No. Never control the students. Don't enter the class with a frown. On the contrary, when you enter the class with a smile, smile is infectious. Smile enhances your face value. When you smile, it is reciprocal. The students also will smile, and that will set the ambience for effective learning. I was telling you that discover your learners, profile of the students. It's very, very important to know the profile of the students. And when you enter the class, the profile of the students, what you already know, try to know more, because you will know more about your students with every passing class. And you practice law, LAW, not in the legal sense of the term. LAW, L means looks, A means action, and W words. Your looks. and ensure that you are properly dressed. It's very important for you to be properly dressed. Properly dressed means, uh, and always wear a dress, which goes well with your profession, acceptable dress, a sober color. Um, because that's very important. If you go with a very weird dress or a very gaudy color, what happens? You will be distracting the minds of the student. The concentration will be affected. So go to the class with acceptable, decent dress. If possible, go to the class suit and tie, because that will infuse professionalism. And students also, believe me, they learn to come properly dressed, at least at least professionally dressed, at least not in casual, never. So looks are very important, and your action action is very important. The body language, when you teach in the class, your ability to articulate is very important. That is one way of keeping the class enlivening. That's very important. I recall my teachers, especially those who taught languages. My God, their action when they taught, say, drama, they enacted the whole drama. They got into the skin of the character, and when they were teaching, it was as if they are enacting a drama, and all of us were spellbound watching them and see their inspiration. My God. So our action is very important, our body language, our articulation, and words. We should be very measured in our words, use of proper words, use of acceptable words, very, very important. And we are all teachers. Possible that there will be some unpleasant incident in the class, but never lose your cool. Always try to be maintaining that sense of equanimity. Never use bad words in the class, and never use unacceptable word in the class. It's very, very important. Law, LAW. And another important thing I always love telling my colleagues, and which I also practice, teach something which is relevant and contextual. Yeah, whatever we teach in the class should be very relevant and contextual, especially, we teach finance related subjects. Yeah, finance related subject, but there are a lot of things, a lot of inputs available. We need to pick all these from uh, the live example, what we say, from the industry, from the corporate. Go and teach which is relevant and which is contextual. When we teach, when we give extra inputs to the student, as long as they're relevant and contextual, it will it will enhance the learning mechanism, and it will also help them to strengthen their understanding better. And one more thing I would like to tell here is, yeah, we make use of PPTs, PowerPoint presentation. Yeah, you use PPT, no doubt, it is good. But unfortunately, some teachers, what they do, they they confine themselves only to PPT. You have potential to teach a lot. Come out of the PPT. Don't fix yourself to only slides. Come out of that, because there is a lot and lot for you to offer to the students. There is a lot of things for you to offer to the students. If you use PPT, you are putting a small frame for yourself and your students. So the hazard of PPT, and what happens, when you depend largely on PPT, the creativity in you will be missing, could be missing. I don't say the creativity will be missing. And another important thing, how many of us make the writing board? How many of us effectively use the writing board? Imaginative use of writing board, effective use of writing board is very, very important. Uh, I'm, with modesty, let me tell you here, my colleagues, they many times they have told, sir, you use the board so effectively. But though I make it a point to clear the board immediately after my class, sometimes what happens now, if my class is the last class and the students request me, sir, whatever you have written on the board, we would like to copy down later. So when I leave my explanation, what I have written on the board as it is, and my other colleagues who happen to see that, they have appreciated. So that gives me a very nice feeling. And sometimes we give notes in the class. No, definitely no dictation of notes in the class. Otherwise, it will be very dull and drab. It will be very, very monotonous dictation of notes in the class. We are caught in the syllabus syndrome. Yeah, university gives us a syllabus, and so we always will confine ourselves to the syllabus. Let us come out of the syllabus syndrome. Let us go beyond the curriculum. Let us give as much input as possible to the student apart from the curriculum. I was telling about learning by doing. Confucius once says, I read, I forget. I see, I understand. I do, and I remember. Learning by doing is very, very important. I should tell you, my friends, when I commenced my teaching profession way back in 1976, those were the days we had a lot of inadequate resources in colleges. So we had to ensure that the learning in the class happened very effectively. So what I did, I used to take my students out for a visit, say stock exchange visit. Those days, there was no computer, not even in the stock exchange. The stock market activities were done in a small room, and the transactions and the rates were written on the board using a chalk by a stock exchange official. Our students used to see. Then when the stock exchange gradually became big, when it moved to a bigger building, there was a trading hall. And when there was a public outcry system, now we have online system. Online system was introduced in the early 90s, 1982 to be precise. But before that public outcry system, where the decibel, the noise produced was so much, anybody going there for the first time would think, oh my God, is there any disturbance? So much chaos. But there was a lot of earning and learning, lot of earning by the brokers, and our students watched this very intensely. Later, they themselves, some of them became stockbrokers, though they were themselves chartered accountants by qualification. They took up stockbroking. That is a different thing. And I used to take them to Reserve Bank of India. I used to take them to many factories in Bangalore. And today, UB City. UB City, there was a brewery, United Breweries. I used to take my students because these these did not involve a lot of traveling. So we need not spend on traveling. So I used to take my students, and they were seeing all the processes. I used to take them to soap factory near ISKCON, present ISKCON. ISKCON was not there those days. And students liked this. This is another thing which I would like to share with you. And one more thing, what I have done, what I want to share here, there are a lot of corporate stories. Corporate story. Every day, something or the other will happen in the corporate. There could be stories involving Infosys. There could be stories involving Tata's group. You can pick stories, corporate stories. When you take corporate stories, that is the one way of keeping the interest of the students alive and making the learning more involved and more engaging. And the learners, the students should cherish the class. After the class is over, they should keep thinking about the class. This is another very important thing. I try to find out whether students still cherish the class. I make my own effort, but when I know that they liked the class, the very fact that they come to me after the class indicates that they definitely cherish the class. And after the class is over, the teacher uh, should continue his influence on the student. Is that possible? Definitely. A quality teacher, a good teacher, will be able to continue his influence on the student. When the class is over, don't think that the interaction between the teacher and the students get over there. It should be continued even after the class. Even after the class means not the next class. The next class could be another faculty. Maybe when the classes are over, the student should come to the teacher, and the continued influence of the teacher should be there. And the teacher should trigger the thought process. You should foster learning atmosphere. You should trigger the thought process. Okay, what is another important thing which every quality teacher will do is, at the end of the day, try to uh, indulge in sort of self-reflection. What is that? Sit up quietly and think, how did the day go? How did the class go? How effective you were that day with the students in the class, outside the class, with the colleague? What is the extra learning that you did? This kind of self-reflection is a part of our profession. For a quality teacher, for a good teacher, self-reflection is very, very important. And the best thing is to record the memoirs, to pen down that is happening. At the end of your profession, spanning, say, 3 to 4 decades, when you can put it together, it could be a very useful book which will give a lot of insight to the next generation. So to record your memoirs is another very, very important. Friends, today it is a very, very dynamic world. It is a VUCA world. VUCA world means VUCA. V, volatility. U, uncertainty. C, complexity. A, ambiguity. We are operating in a VUCA world. We don't know what uncertainty will come and hit us. We don't know what volatility will be there. We don't know what complexity will be there, what ambiguity will be there. And today we are talking about Industry 4.0, meaning fourth industrial revolutions, where the underpinnings are Internet of Things, big data, artificial intelligence. So organizations are forced to reconfigure themselves, and teachers, we have to recalibrate ourselves to take the learning to the next level. Because with this, expectation of our students is soaring. Therefore, to indulge in a lot of learning, upskill ourselves, upgrade ourselves, and go to that class with a lot of input. And research, yeah, very, very important. There is a synergy between teaching and research. Research is an integral part of teaching profession. When you're a good researcher, you're a good teacher. Because when as a researcher, you will lay your hands on so much data, so much information that will help you. And in turn, who are the beneficiaries? Students. So you'll be taking a lot of inputs along with you to the class, and students will be the rich beneficiary. Therefore, it is very, very important for all of us to engage in meaningful research, engage in good research, research which is not just peripheral, research which is useful to the society, research not for promotion, not for increments, research which is meaningful, where you will have a lot of satisfaction of doing a real meaningful research, wherein your colleagues, your students also will be benefited immensely. Friends, we talk of mentoring. It's a beautiful concept. We do all this. Perhaps all the institutions uh, do mentoring. Why I'm saying this, a quality teacher, his job is not 9 to 5 job. No, you can't wash off your hands at the end of the day. Perhaps you may have to spend time with your student, advising him or counseling him. Perhaps you have to spend time. If required, go to his house. I recall my early days of my profession. We used to go to the houses of students. They would invite us. Mentoring happened at a different scale altogether. There are innumerable cases. I can quote here. A student was so intelligent, but because of his wayward activity, wayward behavior, he needed fine tuning. And with a lot of satisfaction, I can tell you here, because of my mentoring, today they are occupying very, very important position. They are CEOs of companies and additional commissioner of income tax, deans, and it is very, very nice to see them doing extremely well in their respective profession. Mentoring is very important. You may read a lot of stories. Bill Gates has admitted he was an unaccepted boy in the class. And the librarian, not the teacher, the librarian does mentoring in case of Bill Gates. And the librarian, a lady, she takes Bill Gates into her fold, talks to him, gives him the required advice, gives him the confidence, and see what is Bill Gates today. And Bill Gates, even today, he recalls the mentoring that he got in his formative years. There are many, many stories. So mentoring is very important. And spending time with the parents. We have parents meeting, but in case any parent comes to you, wants to talk to you, please give time to the parents. Parents of students, they are the biological parents. We, the teachers, are academic parents. The biological parents and the academic parents collaborating on a meaningful, at a meaningful level, who is the beneficiary? The student. When a parent approaches you, possible that the parent is coming out with a story, with an experience which you are not aware. You thought differently about your student, but when there is another story relating to the same student, it will give you proper perspective to fine-tune that student. And sometimes, the parents are so good, they come out with beautiful ideas. Sometimes, we learn from parents. And we, the teachers, because of our mentoring, we are better parents at home. We are better parents to our children because of the mentoring, because of the interaction, our interaction with the parent of our students. I recall uh, the letter written by Abraham Lincoln. The letter is addressed to the headmaster of the school where Abraham Lincoln's son studied. The letter is a very, very beautiful letter. I like this letter. And every teacher should love this letter, the content of the letter. And, that letter goes like this. Teach my son that for every scoundrel, there is a hero. Teach my son, for every selfish politician, there is a dedicated hero. Teach my son, for every enemy, there is a friend. Teach my son, $1 earned is more important than $5 found. Teach my son, learn to lose and also celebrate victory. Teach my son that it is more honorable to lose than winning by cheating. Teach my son to be gentle with the gentle and tough with the tough. Please introduce my son to the wonder of books, but also give time to my son to ponder over the beauty of nature, to ponder over the birds, the beauty of birds, butterflies. And the letter goes on and on and on. What a beautiful letter. So the interaction by teachers with the parents is very, very important in my opinion. Today, we are very happy when the convocation happens. Our students get their degree. But we have to ask ourselves a question. Yeah, we have prepared our students for a job and a career. There is a lot of difference between job and a career. A career is much bigger in its application. So we prepare our students for career. But there is a lot of talk going on. Our graduates are not employable. It pains us. Why is it so? Is our curriculum lacking in some respect? Did we focus too much on the academic curriculum? It is very important for us to ensure that we prepare our students for life. In the examination in the institution, there is a well-set curriculum, syllabus. You can pass. But in the curriculum of life, there is no definiteness. Will you pass? Can you handle life effectively? Can you handle life effectively? Can you lead life very meaningfully? Able by your ethics, able by your honesty? What is your intelligent quotient? What is your cultural quotient? What is your emotional quotient? What is your social quotient? And we have to ensure that our students are exposed to all this. They should be prepared for life. I recall a story, it's a Zen story. The king decides to put his son under the tutelage of a great guru. So he will take his son to guru and request, sir, please accept my son as your disciple. Those days, getting seat in Gurukula system was very difficult. A guru would have only handful of students. Unlike today, there was no mass education. The king himself has approached Guru. The king is requesting, please admit my son, accept my son as your disciple. And the Guru says, all right, leave him here and go. Later, the teacher, the Guru, wouldn't even look at this boy. This boy, son of a king. My God, the Guru is not giving any attention to me. He is not looking at me either. What is this? He feels annoyed. On the contrary, he expected very good attention, pampering and all that, which he never got. And after some time, after a week perhaps, the Guru calls this boy, I will give you a test. Test? Sir, you have not taught me anything. How you are giving me a test? Test comes only after you teach me something. The Guru says, yes. This is the test. You have to pass. Let me see whether you will pass. What is the test? Now you have to go to the forest, stay there for 1 week, come back and narrate your experience. An young boy, the very thought of going to forest, it is very frightful. A forest infested with wild animals, very risky. You have encounter with wild animals, you may not come back alive. And this young boy, he cannot defy the Guru's order. He goes to forest and he looks around. 1 week, he experiences, comes back. And all his classmates were surprised. Oh my God, he has come back from forest. And the Guru says, ask him, narrate your experience. The young boy, very innocently, matter-of-factly says, sir, I heard the tiger roaring. I heard the elephant trumpeting, and so on and on and on. Guru says, is it? Sorry, not enough. You go back to forest. This time, you are going to stay there for 15 days and come back, narrate your story. The boy got terribly perplexed, confused, annoyed, but he can't defy Guru. So, with a lot of anguish, he goes to the forest, 15 days. And this time, he comes back and he tells Guru about his experience. Sir, I heard the sound of river flowing. I heard the sound of birds chirping and so on. Guru says, that's it? Oh, sorry, go back to forest. The boy is terribly annoyed, angry, but he cannot show. Guru says, this time you go to forest, stay there for 1 month and come back. The boy goes to forest for 1 month, comes back, and the Guru asks, what is your experience this time? You know what is the answer? The boy says, sir, this time I heard the sound of flower blossoming. I heard the sound of flower blossoming. Can you hear the sound of flower blossoming? That requires extreme sensitivity. A sensitivity enough for you to understand the unexpressed things, unexpressed feelings. And Guru says, my dear young boy, you are fit enough to become king in future because you have developed acute sensibilities, sensitivity to understand unexpressed feelings of your citizens. So when the king comes, the Guru says, your son has passed in all the tests and is the most eligible person to become king in future. This story is so meaningful This only shows that it is very important for our youngsters to develop sensitivities towards community, towards elders, towards their culture, and the value system should be hardwired in them, and they should be very sensible, and sensitivity should be towards Mother Earth. They should contribute to Mother Earth. They should contribute to ensure that they live in Mother Earth. They live on the earth, which is green, clean, and equitable Mother Earth. It is very, very important that character is very, very important. Warren Buffett once said, the characteristics it looks in a manager are intelligence, hard work, and integrity. If integrity is not there, the first two attribute will kill you. There are a lot of stories. We prepare our students to become managers. When I prepare my student to become manager, and some of them are director finance in corporates, handling crores of rupees, public money, public limited company, crores of rupees. But it's very important for them, they should demarcate, this is my money and that is not my money. That honesty level should be very high. We have come across corporate stories where people made it very big in their life because of their professional acumen, because of their professionalism, and because of their experience, wisdom, intelligence. Who doesn't know the story of Rajat Gupta? A youngster who goes from India to America chasing Indians' American dreams. He passes out from MIT. Later, he acquires his MBA and joins McKinsey as a young trainee. But he grows there. He grows there, and one day he becomes the CEO of McKinsey, the first non-American to become CEO. And all other companies, many companies, top companies will invite Rajat Gupta to be on their board. Rajat Gupta, the person who enjoyed adulation, admiration of people, corporate academicians. But what happened? He was tried under Sarbanes-Oxley Act in the US under insider trading regulations. What a fall from grace. That is precisely because the value system was perhaps a little wavering. So friends, and there are a lot of other corporate stories because of lack of time. So I don't want to say that, but what is important is we need to ensure that we prepare our students for life. Because the purpose of life is life of purpose. Friends, we the teachers, when we are happy in our profession, because we did our job well, we will be peaceful, contented with whatever we have, and our wealth is goodwill of our students. And when our students flourish in their career, able with their value system, integrity, that is the best thing for the teachers. So my dear friends, enjoy the profession. Let us enjoy the profession till our last breath. Let us make a meaningful difference to our profession. Thank you very much for your time. I thank the management of this college for inviting me to this national webinar. I thank all the participants for participating, for having listened to me. Let us meet in different forums. I want to meet you. I want to learn. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir. Participants, if there are any questions, you will be unmuted. You can kindly ask. You can also drop in your questions in the chat box.
Dr. Prabhu Deva, sir, when we are going to handle the students through online classes. Hello?
Yes, yes, sir. There are no.
I can't hear properly.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Shall I?
I can't hear properly. Can you please?
Pardon?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, madam.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Jagan Mohan Reddy from Symbiosis, Hyderabad. Sir, now that we are going to engage the students through online classes, how to ensure connectivity? When we are in offline in the classroom, we look at the body language, we can connect with them, looking into the eyes and all that. Is it not going to be a big challenge, sir? What do you suggest?
Yeah, it is a very beautiful question. Very, very relevant question, very contextual. That is the challenge. Online classes, that will be online classes or the future reality. But we, the teachers, we have certain limitation in online classes. Online classes are associated with their own problems, technical problems included. The articulation of the teacher will be definitely missing in a virtual class. But when the virtual class, online class becomes the reality, we need to recalibrate ourselves in such a way that the excitement of teaching, the excitement of learning is not going to be missed even in online classes. But I'm telling here, I am agreeing with you that online classes have their own limitations. But our challenge is to ensure that even online classes are to be made interesting, exciting, in spite of the shortcomings, in spite of the inadequacies.
Thank you, sir.
Because the learner, what I was telling about the connect, between the learner and the teacher is definitely going to be missed in online classes, because it is in sort of indirect approach, not direct approach at all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other question? I call upon questions, if any, from the participants.
So we have a question here, sir.
Yeah.
Some of our subjects are based on practically. How can we go through by online classes?
Yeah. Yeah, that is a serious limitation. Practical subjects where you need to do a lot of board work, extensive board work. It's very, very challenging. It is very difficult. In fact, the students I have collected
Feedback from the students.
practical
Practical subjects are very,
theory subjects somehow you can manage. You can share material, but practical subject where, for example, finance related subjects where we need to work out problems on the board, is a serious handicap. Not just that, subject like physics, chemistry, where practical subjects are involved. But please keep in mind, online classes are only beginning. We are going to evolve and we are going to come out with some kind of remedy solution to these possible problems. And with every passing day, even online classes become more effective and more acceptable. But I fully agree with you. Online classes involving practical subjects is a huge challenge.
Ms. Rekha Pratik has raised hand. Madam, could you please put across your question?
Yeah. Good morning, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, my question is, when we take online classes, there are few students who disturb a lot and we cannot find out how to tackle those students, sir.
Because all the students are seated and you are interacting with them physically, but in an indirect approach, this kind of disturbance is going to happen. And because the student, I don't say students should be monitored, but that is also very important. But in an online class, there will be a lot of disturbance. Possible that the student may have an exclusive dedicated room for him to learn. May possible that some disturbance from family members. So when there is a continuously dedicated room for him to attend the online class, the disturbance will be less. Otherwise, the disturbance will be less. Otherwise, it's a challenge for him to learn.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Satishwari TK has raised hand. Madam, could you please tell us your question?
Raised just the reaction is low.
Also, Ms. Nazia Begum.
Okay.
So Shivakumar sir asks, is the situation given the students to understand the purpose of learning? Is it not the right time to make the students understand the present situation and explore them to come with better solutions?
You mean present situation means this pandemic, situation of pandemic? You mean precisely that?
Yes, sir.
Yes. I started my talk with that note only. The pandemic has cast its dark shadow, but it is not that we're going to be discouraged. We need to move on, and the teachers and students should try to come to terms with the situation, and we should keep moving. We don't belong to that group or class where we are going to be negatively affected. At the end of the talk, I told we are in a cover. Uncertainty may come, but we should be prepared for that. So this pandemic, yes, it has impacted us so much. We should not allow this pandemic to affect our psyche, because a teacher should not be discouraged, a student should not be demotivated. Therefore, it is collective responsibility of all the teachers to ensure that the interest in learning is maintained, and the students also should be made to understand this. This is only a passing phenomenon. This is not going to impact us at all. This is only a passing phenomenon. It is not going to be having very, very long-standing impact. Please note that it is very important for all of us to be self-motivated, and especially teachers, because the students are looking upon the teacher. A demotivated teacher definitely is going to harm to the student. Did I answer your question, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So Mr. Suhas asks, what are the preparations required to make the students interactive when the teacher enters the class while the students are not focused in the same proportion?
Maybe the connect is missing there in that particular case. But it is easy to talk. When I say you should establish the connect with your students in the class, with the learner. It is not easy. It looks so easy, but very, very difficult to practice. It looks very far-fetched for some, but it is very important. When the connect happens, believe me, all of them will be eye and ear to whatever you are going to tell. whatever you are going to tell, they are going to receive and think, absorb, and come out with questions, which will make you think in turn. So this thinking, both by the teacher and the student, will take the learning mechanism to the next level, and the beneficiaries are both the teacher and the taught. And next class, believe me, the teaching and learning will go on a different plateau altogether in the next class. In case the teacher feels that the students are not connected, that is why I told you, the teacher should make constant effort to get the feedback. Feedback means, he can use his own experience and imagination to get the feedback of students. So the connect is very, very important. In case the connect is not there, there is going to be a transmission loss. You are not, whatever you are telling is going above the head and not reaching out to the student. So that class is definitely a waste. That class is definitely a waste. How to ensure that students are interested? It is the totality of all points, whatever I told. First, they should accept you. The acceptance should happen. They should feel that here is the teacher who is going to take care of them. Here is the teacher who is going to provide all information. Here is the teacher who is going to assure a good learning mechanism. So that confidence should be there. So that will happen, if not on the very first day, initial few days. After that, the connect between the teacher and the taught will be very meaningful, and the teacher will definitely enjoy the class. So also all the students. When I say all the students, I mean every single student in the class. But that is a very ideal situation. But unfortunately, not many can experience such situation.
So Mr. Barkatullah Khan has raised hands. Ask the question.
Thank you so much, participants. Thank you for being so motivating to all the teaching fraternities, sir. Like the saying which goes, without teachers, life would have no class. By ending this session, I would request Mrs. Smita, Lecturer, Department of Commerce, to please propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Vagana. The importance of a great teacher can never be erased. On this note, I, Smita, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, would like to propose the vote. Firstly, I would like to thank Dr. V. Prabhu for accepting our invitation and being a part of today's webinar. The talk was indeed enlightening. I hope the participants had a lot to take back from this session today. My grateful thanks are directed towards Sri R. Ananda, Chairman, Sri Sai Group of Educational Institutions for... I also extend my thanks to Sri Sai College for Women, Professor Nehru. I would like to thank all the teaching and the non-teaching staff and all participants of today's webinar. Thank you one and all.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.